Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. This is me, Rima Ray. I am a mystery author. I wrote this best-selling novel, Ruby Roy, Murder in the Falls. If you want to check it out, it was voted by Reader's Digest as a top 10 cozy mystery of 2022. Link down below. And in this channel, I cover all things mystery, suspense, horror genres that I love very, very much. And I exclusively, I think, now watch mysteries, or actually have been doing it for most of my life. I do love some animation, I do love comedy and all of these other things, but primarily if you give me a remote or you tell me to go watch a film, mystery is my love, it's my passion, which is why I decided to start writing my own mysteries as well. So with that said, do subscribe if you like that type of content. Today, I'm about to discover, and we'll see if it gets blocked on YouTube, I'm doing a couple of reactions to movies, mystery movies and things that are available, and I can watch along, like it's publicly available on YouTube or something, and I can watch along with you. And if you guys kind of want to just have me around watching a film with me, if you're into that type of thing, hopefully this channel is going to give you that. So most of you, if you are true crime lovers, probably seen a lot of shows on the ID channel. It's probably one of my favorite channels, and I know when I was not like jumping on the streaming bandwagon for a long time because I could care less, but I remember the first subscription I paid for was the ID channel. So the $6.99 for Discovery Plus, I paid for that, and I'm still paying for that because it helps me. It even gives me inspiration for a lot of story ideas, one of them that I'm working on right now. But coming to what we're gonna watch right now, so we'll see if it gets blocked or not. This one is called Meet, Marry, Murder. I think probably in the lines of Who the Bleep Did I Marry, if you've seen that show on Investigation Discovery. Obviously Forensic Files and all of those have been around too. So we're gonna check out Meet, Marry, Murder. I like this type of, like, even though we know that whenever there's a murder, the husband is, or the spouse, husband or wife, is the most likely suspect, but hey, can't get enough of that. You always want to know what happened, what went wrong, and there's something different to watching like a real life story, right? Anyway, I'm not going to ramble on for too long. Let's get into Meet, Marry, Murder. This is season 1, episode 1. If obviously when I upload this, it goes through with limited copyright issues, you'll see this. And this one is called Cochran. And I guess it's the name of the couple, Kelly and Jason Cochran. All right. Let's check this out. Hope you got your snack or a drink. We're gonna dig in, and this is like 48 minutes long. I'm gonna divide it in 2 parts. Again, if it gets copyrighted, then I'll see if I'll post this or not. All right, 1, 2, 3, play.
Terry O'Donnell knows these woods like the back of her hand. She's been searching for signs of her former lover Chris Regan, who one day in 2014 simply disappeared. Terry was expecting to help Chris move house that day.
I kept texting, messaging him, and I got no response. And normally he would respond immediately, or when he would have a break if he was at work. I drove by the apartment. My parents owned the apartments, and it was behind our grocery store. His truck was there, but his car was gone. So I thought...
This is one thing, guys, right? Like every time you see these types of, and I think most of you, if you're in my channel or you enjoy this content, you've seen these shows before. It's always a case of if you have a regular pattern, right? Like you always text your spouse, you're always quick to respond, right? To your mom's calls. That kind of helps. Regularity, like there are times when people are always showing up to their job on time, and then the boss is like, hey, this is not like Sarah, and then they go checking. So maybe it's good to have some daily habits that are, be communicative is what I'm saying. Hopefully, God forbid, none of us want to be in this situation, but that kind of helps.
He's busy. He had packing to do. He had to find a place to live down in North Carolina. He had a lot of things to get done. I thought maybe he just needed a little space, and so he could get everything taken care of. And a week went by and I still hadn't heard from him.
Yeah, that's a long time.
On October 27th of 2014, I met Terry O'Donnell, who came to the police department as I was leaving for the day. She was shook up, she was crying. That's when she told me that something was wrong, her friend was missing. She came into the office and explained to me what she had found. She hadn't heard from him since October 14th.
I was talking to people at work and I was, what should I do? I can't get a hold of him. And I went up to the apartment, knocked on the door, and there was no one there. And everyone told me that I was being paranoid and that I should just, relax. We weren't dating, and maybe he, found someone else.
I mean, she checked in with him pretty much daily, and that's why it was odd to her when she
Pattern,
couldn't make
right?
contact with him.
I started asking people that he worked with, and one of my friends that he works with told me he hadn't been at work for over a week.
I mean, she knew that he was going somewhere that night, but where is he? Why wouldn't he show up for his job, and why wouldn't he say a last goodbye to her?
And then I got panicky, and then he told me that he saw Christopher's car at the park and ride in Bates. And so I drove out that evening to the park and ride, and his car was there. I couldn't get in the car, and I was afraid that
It's
he
not a
was
good
in the
sign.
trunk.
Yeah.
I knew something happened to him. I knew he wasn't coming back.
Terry had told me where Chris had been working, and I happened to know the human resource director there very well, and told me that there was a woman that he
It's not a
was
good sign,
allegedly having an
guys.
affair with that also worked there. So I asked her who that woman was. This woman was, Kelly Cochran.
Within days of hearing that Chris Regan was missing, Detective Frizzo strongly suspected he'd been murdered. This woman, Kelly Cochran, was someone she needed to speak to. A woman who police would one day also want to talk about the death of her husband, Jason Cochran.
There was a phone call on February 20th, Kelly contacting me to say that Jason had died that night. And immediately, my wife told me, well, she did it.
Wow. That's not a good
What
impression.
had she done? One man, missing, presumed murdered, another mysteriously dead, and the common denominator, Kelly Cochran. Did she kill her husband, Jason, to cover up the other murder? How had it come to this?
I have to say, she looks kind of, conniving. She didn't go by looks, but, sometimes a person looks it.
The then Kelly Gaboyan grew up on Mississippi Street, Maryville, Indiana. By the late 90s, the eldest of three siblings was living in what would soon be officially designated Hobart. Real estate agents call it sparse suburbia. It's south of Chicago. Kelly's family raised animals on the broad open fields adjacent to her home, but she got bored, became quite the hellraiser.
I know that Kelly had gotten into, trouble, and this is, based on what her mother reported. As a juvenile, she had a lot of troubles. They couldn't keep her under control. She ended up in a juvenile facility.
When 18, her mother threatened to throw her out. She was using a lot of drugs, heroin, and so was her boyfriend.
Kelly and Jason started dating shortly after high school.
His name, Jason Cochran.
Kelly indicated that they were neighbors. She referred to him as the boy next door. From people that knew them, went to school with them. It sounds like Jason was kind of a quiet guy.
It was the year 2000. Graduation for Kelly was on the horizon. An important year too, for she and Jason. Walt Ammerman would one day become a friend to both Kelly and Jason.
High school sweethearts and married since she got out of school, and it sounded like
Perfect love
any
story, yeah.
happy couple, is what it looked like on the outside, and what I felt I was dealing with.
But from the start of the romance, there were issues.
Were they a good match? Kelly's brother Colton didn't think so. He thought they were like oil and water. They just were so opposite and never should have gotten together. And he really told them that they just never should have done it.
They ended up marrying. Her mother says, they had a nice church wedding for them and everything seemed normal, but I think a lot of times her mother tried to see her as normal or make her seem normal. And she always knew there was something not right.
Kelly's heroin use had been so bad that her mother told friends she would only allow her daughter to visit if she subjected herself to a drugs test. But Kelly and Jason's marriage seemed to have had a positive effect on them. Maybe the marriage would be the making of them. Kelly's parents had been together for 40 years, so she'd seen how it might work. In the event, the relationship had its ups and downs.
She says, Jason used to be the light of my life. It was so upbeat and happy, easy-go-lucky. But then he started getting kind of dark. It's like I could see like the devil in his eyes. It just wasn't the same guy I married.
Looking at their relationship, it did not seem to be the strongest relationship. There were phone calls and texts that went back and forth. Some were rather demeaning from Jason to Kelly.
But as with most marriages, there were two ways of looking at the couple's relationship. Laura Frizzo, a detective in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, would spend a long time analyzing this marriage.
And it sounds like Jason was kind of a quiet guy, and Kelly was more always a dominant, strong, female. He would have dinner ready for her and waiting, begging her to come home.
For Kelly, Jason became controlling, jealous, passive, and sometimes not so passive-aggressive. Jason's friends sketched a different picture of the couple as they lived out their early married life in Hobart.
I would say that their marriage was controlled by Kelly. Their lives together were controlled by her. She did all the cooking, the financing, the everything, the grocery shopping. He didn't really do much of anything. He just did what he could to keep her happy.
It's really hard to say who the dominant figure was in the relationship between Kelly and Jason. Certainly, it can be inferred that Kelly was the dominant figure. That was something the jury certainly believed. But when you look at the evidence and look at the texts and the tenor of some of these texts that were sent back and forth and some of the messages, it doesn't necessarily lead me to the conclusion that Kelly was a dominant person.
Getting to the truth of who rules the roost in the Cochran household was never easy.
Also, I think the thing that you notice a lot of times is when people come right out of high school and they're high school sweethearts, people evolve, as they get older, their personalities change. So it's difficult to say, the dynamics of a relationship changes as people get more vocal and comfortable. Just because he's an introvert in high school doesn't mean and particularly somebody could stay an introvert but also feel more comfortable being more assertive with other people, right, at home, and those that they are married to and family members and things. So yeah, can never judge someone from the outside. I mean, of course we know that, but something that you see in these cases as well.
Walt Ammerman got to know Jason and sometimes Kelly too when they would play online video games.
I think I could use the examples of their relationship, like we would be playing the game, and if I was playing the game and somebody came over, my wife or anybody came home, I would say, hey, somebody's home, I'm gonna have to go in a little bit. But with him, it was Kelly's home, I gotta go, and he was gone. And you might not talk to him till the next day. It was like it was almost like he didn't want to be doing anything fun without her. It would be okay if she wanted to play the game and get online later, he would be back. But, he didn't really, I don't feel he ever really wanted to cross her.
The couple did not have children and in 2013 left the Hobart area for the Upper Peninsula. They suddenly turned up in an area where they had no friends, no family. The reasons for the move was something of a mystery.
Kelly and Jason Cochran weren't from Iron River. They were some of those people that just showed up. All of a sudden one day, they were here.
The reason they gave did not ring true with those who knew or would get to know them.
Through my discussions with Kelly and Jason Cochran early on, I inquired as to why they moved to Upper Michigan from Indiana. And Kelly's response was, Jason's got medical issues, and Michigan has the medical marijuana law now, so that, he can smoke marijuana in Michigan legally for his medical issues. And that too was a red flag for me, being that, where they resided in Indiana was only, 40 miles or so from the Michigan border in Lower Michigan. So why would you move, 6.5 hours into Michigan from Indiana? It didn't really make sense.
To me, they were running from something.
Yeah.
He really wanted to be someplace warmer, and he really wanted someplace, oddly enough, that he could smoke medical marijuana, because he felt it helped his back and his pain, and that was a better pain relief than the hard Percocet type drugs. So they did find a place in Michigan which does have medical marijuana, but it's not any warmer. In fact, it's much colder up there. It seemed right for them. The money was right. They had 2 dogs. The only downside was the fact that it wasn't a warmer location, but for something, it worked for them.
I asked some statements as to why they moved from Indiana to Iron River, Michigan, and they were just looking for new opportunities, is my understanding. It's a beautiful area. I'm not familiar with the part of Indiana that they're from. I've been told it's not the greatest area in the world, and I think they were just looking to get a fresh start and came to an area that they thought they could get a fresh start at.
Yeah, nobody knows, it
or
seems.
Whoever you believe, in 2013, Kelly and Jason from Hobart, Indiana, were living a 9-hour drive away in the Upper Peninsula and were about to embark on a highly unconventional lifestyle, one not usually associated with married couples.
I was having dinner with Jason and Kelly at a restaurant there in their town, and oddly, she asked him, "Did you show Walt our friend?" I had no idea what she was talking about. And he showed me a picture of a half-naked woman on his phone, and Kelly said, "Yeah, I found a friend for Jason and I because I love him so much that I wanted to keep him happy." And
Well, that's why they moved. All the reasons given, that's why they moved, because obviously they want to be somewhere new where they could find people, I guess. Yeah, if you're into that kind of lifestyle, sometimes having a fresh start, that's sort of like, a throuple, or I don't know, what do they call it? Like finding a unicorn, right? For married couples, that the third person. Yeah, I think that's probably the best reason.
And that threw me for a loop.
The couple were indeed occasionally a throuple.
Throuple, there you
Jason,
go.
And whoever Kelly could find for the man in her life to share sex sessions with. Not necessarily a recipe for a happy marriage. And a side to their lives, which was not about to keep everybody in Iron River happy.
Kelly talked about the affair she was having with Chris and how Jason was aware of it and he was okay with it, that they had an open marriage.
An affair with this man, Chris Regan. They had met, they had married, but had the lives of the teenage sweethearts become so full of worldly intrigues that theirs was a story about to end in murder.
Wow. Yeah, that's a thing with, like, when you include a third person in the mix. I'm no one to judge other people. I think it depends on the foundations of your own marriage, and adults can decide what they want to do. If you want to be a swinger, if you want to be a throuple, you want to, depending on where you are and legally what's allowed, if you want to have sister wives, whatever it is. I'm not one to judge, but I think you need to have a very solid foundation in your own marriage before you start experimenting with these types of things, because again, even though people say, "Oh no, I'm totally okay, I'm not insecure," 80% to 90% of the time people actually are feeling differently, and after some time, when they see that their affection is not being reciprocated or someone falls in love with somebody else, it's like all hell breaks loose. Human beings, we in general are possessive creatures. There's somewhere deep down, not saying for everyone, but for a lot of us, we do want to belong, and we do want to have somebody who's our own, right? We do tend to have that, and some people can balance that and they claim to be happy. Nobody really knows what's going on in anyone's head, but if you're not in a good relationship, I'm saying if you have problems and incompatibility and differences to begin with, then to kind of indulge in these types of things, it's just sort of like, throwing fire into the mix. So.
In the Upper Peninsula in 2013, Kelly and Jason Cochran lived in this house. Kelly worked as a garden pool fixer. Jason complained that his back made it impossible for him to work. Married for 12 years, the couple revealed to friends a bizarre pact that they had made on their wedding day. If either took a lover, the other could kill that lover.
What?
She says that, her and her husband entered into this pact on their marriage night. And so she tells me about the marriage pact, about killing each other's lovers or killing the lover.
What?
Around this time, Kelly did have
That's
a
a
lover.
red flag.
His name, Chris Regan. He liked the Upper Peninsula.
It's beautiful. Lots of rivers and lakes. And actually, that's one thing Christopher liked about Iron River, is he loved nature. He loved the woods. And so that part is beautiful. And the people are nice. The people I work with are very kind.
His relationship with Terry O'Donnell was a case of friends being reunited. They'd first met in 1980. Both had married, then divorced. Terry stayed in the UP. Chris had left.
We got back together through the internet, and we started chatting, and he was divorced, and I was divorced, and so we decided to meet up again. And so we met up and wined and dined and just had a wonderful time. And
they looked happy
just
together.
Started dating again. It was awesome. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tragic.
When he looked at me, when Chris would look at me, I just melt. I mean, he just had that
She was in love with him,
charismatic,
right? Yeah.
and he just made you feel like you were everything. That you were the only person in the room when he looked at you.
Yeah.
Soon after Chris moved back to the Upper Peninsula, the old friends became an item, but the relationship stalled when Terry learned that her charming man kept a guilty secret.
Christopher had an issue with pornography that I found out afterwards, when him and I started talking more about, why he needed a little bit more alone time. He was hooked on things on the internet, and I didn't agree with that. And that's why we broke up. I still loved him, and maybe that's why.
Yeah, this is difficult to understand, because I think if you are a millennial or maybe younger, this is not a big deal for couples. Depends again on your faith and how conservative you are. But, again, an addiction to pornography is one thing. If somebody is mildly, watching porn from time to time, that's a different thing. So yeah, I mean, but I have to respect this lady that she loved him, but these were her values, and this was not something she was wanting to compromise on. So at least she was honest about it. You could still tell that I know this episode was recorded a while ago, but you could still tell this person really loved that, loved Christopher, the guy.
We stayed friends. I kept in touch with him. He would still call or text, but we couldn't date. We couldn't be a couple because it just wasn't right. At least for me, that wasn't right.
It was shortly after Terry and Chris had split that she learned how Kelly Cochran had entered the picture.
That's when him and Kelly hooked up.
She winds up meeting Chris Regan on this job at a mine equipment company.
I think she gave him that part of his life, whatever he wanted to satisfy that need, because it wasn't love, but it was sex.
Yeah, that's important.
Kelly wasn't exactly loyal to her husband. She cheated on him. She'd had a number of affairs over the course of the marriage, and this was an issue for Jason. Jason would get really depressed when she was having these affairs, and even
he's
to
not
the
into
point
it.
where he thought about committing suicide.
Oh, that sucks.
It bothered him, but he was afraid of losing his wife, so he tried to allow her to basically live her life, and that interfere with it, but it was clearly driving him crazy.
When they were in the UP, I was aware that Jason had went to a mental hospital for a few weeks. I want to say it was probably mentioned that there was a possible affair with somebody or the marriage wasn't going well.
So Kelly's really liking this relationship with Chris. She's having a good time. But Chris isn't liking the job. And he's got a bad knee. And he's not going to be able to continue this job for long. So he applies for this office job in Asheville, North Carolina. And he gets it. And he's really excited. And Kelly is not.
For his new job, he had to have a physical. And actually, that's the last day I spoke to him. It was October 14th, 2014. That morning, it was about 6 a.m. in the morning, he called me and told me that he was going to be going to Marshfield the next day, and as long as everything came back okay with his physical, that he would have the job, and he would call me when he got back.
That's a good friend, you know.
There were now at least 3 people in the Cochran marriage, and one of them didn't like it. Jason. Meanwhile, the Cochrans had their pact. Bizarre as it seems, if they were to honour their secret wedding vow, Jason now had the right, in the eyes of Jason and Kelly, to kill her lover.
What kind of a weird pact is that? Did they not like think about jail? You know? All right, guys, I'm gonna stop this, or I'll do 1 more minute of it, and then I'm gonna stop it, and then I'll do the second part in part 2, because I kind of want to check if this thing is going to be copyrighted or blocked on YouTube. I'm obviously watching it from YouTube and it's available, but you never know with these things. So we'll do 1 more minute, but what a bizarre pact. Like, even when they were in high school, you know, they're talking about killing like it's like, you know, the wild, wild west and you could just get away killing people. But yeah, I haven't heard of this. I've seen many weird pacts and cults and all the different cases on the ID channel. If you guys watch all those shows, this is a first.
Leaving the UP for North Carolina, Chris Regan had asked his old flame, Terry O'Donnell, to help him.
We were going to make plans to go and eat, and then I was going to help him pack and move things and store some of his things for him while he was in North Carolina.
Aw, that's cute. That's a good picture.
So Chris Regan's really excited about his new job. The day before he's supposed to leave Iron River to go to the Carolinas and take this new job, Kelly invites him over for dinner. Come on over, have some lasagna. Then there might be something else in it for you too. So she figures some farewell sex, you know, that'll lure him over.
Yeah.
So off he went to Kelly Cochran's house. When he arrived, they had their dinner and they had their embrace. And while embraced in each other's arms, their bodies intertwined,
This is getting...
Kelly's husband sneaks up onto Chris while Chris is still in the arms of Kelly. And Kelly's husband pulls the trigger. A single shotgun blast to his head.
What?
And Kelly was in on it. She knew as she held him there, she could see that shotgun being raised up and put to the head of Chris, and a single loud explosion. There would have been blood, there would have been brains everywhere, including on Kelly herself. She would have been covered in brain matter and blood from somebody that she was just sexually intertwined with.
It's messed up.
So now Chris is
Messed
dead.
up.
What do? They take Chris's body, they bring it down to the basement, they lie it on a sheet of plastic, and they take an electric buzz saw and they start carving up Chris Regan's body.
All right, I'm going to stop it right here for part 1. It's 21 minutes long, so we'll have part 2 for the second part. Yeah. Well, this is a deranged couple. And the fact that this case is here is, I'm assuming in the end, justice got served. And if I'm not mistaken, the husband is also dead. So I don't know how that happened, or he's alive, not sure. But yeah, these two belong in prison. They clearly made a prison pact because that vow is just like a straight to prison commitment, right? It's like, you kill, my lover, I kill your lover. Then we both go and rot in jail for the rest of our lives. God. Delusional people, deranged people. And I sometimes marvel at how these people survive so many, like 12 years of marriage without landing up in jail sooner. But hey, you never know, right? But poor Chris, right? I mean, he was just coming over to say goodbye to his lover, and he thought it's going to be a fun time. Little did he know, Anyway, guys, so meet, marry, murder. I was not expecting this twist. I thought they would probably kill each other. Maybe there's that too. We don't know yet. The case isn't over. But let me know what you thought of this insane episode. Give me your thoughts down below. And of course, if I'll read every comment and happy to respond back and discuss with you guys, because we're watching this together. Hopefully, we're commenting along the way and sharing our thoughts too. I'd love that. And part 2, of course, will be up. We'll see if part 1 goes through. Subscribe to the channel if you like mystery, suspense, horror, thrillers. Movie, TV shows, real true crime, all of that. We're going to do it right here. And of course, check out my novel if you like to. This is Ruby Roy, Murder in the Falls. It's a series that I'm going to be working on. This is the first in the series with Ruby Roy. It's a comedy mystery, and a little goofy. It's silly, kind of a light read, fun read. It's available on Amazon, so go check it out. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.